Back in the shop, I took my compound slide, this one, off. I completely cleaned it underneath, cleaned everything, cleaned this unit out, and got it so it's real smooth and absolutely no play in it. And I've seen, well, one thing that bothers me is this wheel here. This is so small when you turn it. You're not turning it like this one. This one, you're going like this. It's almost like an oval shape. It's so hard, and this has to go in and out because you work on the outer part of a part, then you want to get down and cut in the middle. You got to wind this in or move your compound. A lot of times I can use set up to this back hole, you know, on this Enco 9x20 lathe, and I can do everything, but I got to crank it way in, crank it out. So you're using this a lot. I've seen guys make an adapter for this where you could use a, you know, power drill and do it. I don't want to do that. And I've seen guys make a bigger wheel. I want a bigger wheel. I want one almost this size or even this size. But I don't want to machine all this. If I take this apart, and I'll do that, you can see how many things you got to machine in it. And I thought there got to be an easier way. I've seen guys make this, but what I did was I thought about it, and I took this handle off. Now this wheel up here, the top wheel, is it's about 1 inch and 15/16, so it's just under 2 inches. This one down here is 3 7/8. So if I had something close to this to put up here, but not go through all that machining. So to take it off, I loosened this set screw, took this off and slide it off, and watch, because you have a little key that goes in here on the shaft for this. Then you just pull this apart and there's a spring in there. The spring was broke when I got it, so I made one. I made this one. I should have used, I might make another one, I should have used spring steel. This isn't spring steel, but it holds it. And it's for tension, so that when this is together, it puts some tension on this, and you can hold this part and then turn this to zero it out and then go from there. But you take it apart and you can see this is down in a little bit right here. That's not that great important. And then you have this hole, which is no big deal, and then a main hole through it, and then look, you have a shoulder here. This goes no, that don't go back in. I thought it did. It doesn't. But there's a shoulder here, there's this fit, then this groove for the spring, then a keyway. So that's what I mean. Instead of making this whole thing, it would be nice, but instead of doing all that work, all that machining, I mean, if you got the equipment and want to do it, fine, but I'm just putting a plate on top. Should work great. So now I got to get the charcoal. I have everything there because I poured that one day, so I can get my stuff all out real quick. It's right there, and heat up the little blast furnace and pour my sauerkraut can, and I'll only be needing about that much. But when I pour it, I'll pour enough to go way up here, because I want to be able to grab it, you know, when I make that ring real thick, I can grab the back to machine this part, and I can face it off. Then I'll just have to turn it around, face it off, you know, cut it off. Won't take no time at all. plane. Can't get my thing off here. And there we are, it's poured. To machine this in my lathe, the 4-jaw chuck just goes out almost as big as this. It's just a hair, this is a hair too big. I can't use it, so I got to go with the 3 jaws. So I got to drill it down through and put a bolt through it to put in the jaws to turn this. So what I did was, this end is really rough. It's better if I use this flat part to find the middle of this. I use my morphidites to find the middle of it. So what I did was I put it in the drill press and I centered it that way. I checked it every which way and I just kept bumping it, and then I tightened it down really tight and I have it perfectly level, because I want that hole straight down through. Now when I put it in the lathe, it might wobble a little bit, but the less wobble, the bigger I'm going to be able to keep this. So that's what I had to do to get it in the jaws. I got my disc cut. This is the one I'm going to be using on the lathe, and this is a piece I had left. I cut it down insofar and then I used a hacksaw. I took this a little under what I wanted because I wanted to make sure I could get it in my 3-jaw chucks there and it'll fit. So now I can face this side off clear down. I couldn't here because of the bolt, but that's going to be bored out anyway. So I can face this off. I'll put it in here and it sticks out enough just to face it off. That'll go in there. And it really come out good, and I have this big chunk left. It's down in here, but still there'll be a good bit of that. Sometime I'll just face this off until it's all clean, and I can use it or just put it in my bin for a extra piece, make something out of whatever I need. But this come out pretty good. It's coming out nice. And over where it's going to be, right here on this dowel, that's going to be pretty good sized, but it'll miss this. It's going to miss it, and that handle will come out, so I'll be way back here. And this is on that 29.5. That's usually where I leave it. That's where you're going to use it if you thread. I very seldom thread with it because I have taps and dies, so why not just use a die instead of setting this all up for that. So this will go on there, and it will be I think terrific. It'll work out good. So I'll face that off, and then I'll sand it real smooth in this side, you know, round the edges and get it all smooth. I cut this inner part of that part I was making, and I got it together, and you can see how I didn't put it clear down. I had cut this so perfect and took my time that it was a pressed fit, and I put it on this and just tapped it down real easy. In fact, I tapped on this part in here and I just worked it down, and it is tight, so I don't need any set screws or anything. Now you can see I didn't go the whole way down because it keeps it out towards me. I can use it to come out here. So now this hole I can just transfer out here, put the handle on, and I'm done. And that goes on there. Watch that little key there. So by not putting that clear down on this, it brings it out away from this part. And oh, is that easy when you have something big like that to turn. So with the handle, it should be perfect, because that little wee thing is so hard. So let me get the handle on it, put this back on, and see how it works. Well, I got it finished. I drilled and tapped it, cleaned out the hole because you use cutting oil when you do that. Put Loctite on it, blue Loctite, and then under here on the handle I put a little bit of grease. Adjusted this like it should be. Then when I was turning it, I seen this was wobbling. So I just looked and seen back here where it wasn't quite on, it was on a little bit more like here than here. So I just tapped it with a hammer until I turned it and it looked real straight. And oh, what a difference, 1,000% better. I think I need to tighten my gibs. Yeah, the gibs need tightened just a hair. But other than that, this thing come out perfect. I mean, oh, is that nice for like facing off and, you know, just getting it in and out real quick. It's fantastic. That worked great, and it looks good. And I'm glad I didn't put this clear back to here. I left it out some. It's away from this. So if I bring this clear out, you can see it misses it. And that's at 29.5 degrees that usually people leave them at. And that's where I leave mine. But oh my goodness, what a difference. Then for your zero thing, back here, your indicator, you hold it and turn this. There's a little metal spring in there, flat spring. It's spring steel. Mine was broke when I got it. So what I've done is I got a set of those O-rings from Harbor Freight, and I took a lot littler one that you'd think you'd need in there because there's not much room, and I stretched it over that. And if you have one of these, you know what it's like in there. I stretched it over, and that O-ring holds that, so it goes with this wheel, but then I can hold it and turn this by itself, so if I want to zero this out. But all in all, wow, what a difference. It's just so easy to turn, and it makes a circle. It's not that, you know, like oval shape. It is turning perfect.